G'day everyone, ADuckProductions here, doing something a little bit different today. I wanted to show you some custom rolling stock that I made out of some stuff that I got off eBay recently. None of them really warranted a video of their own, but I thought I might show you them all together and talk a little bit about my process because I thought you might like that. So off eBay I managed to find the second-hand ice cream trucks, as well as a whole bunch of other rolling stock by the same seller, which came with a Clarabelle, this ketchup coloured van, some trucks, and then also these rolling stock. But I didn't customize these at all, so we won't really talk about these. So we'll start with the main attraction, which is these ice cream trucks, and first off this low truck. I have one other of these, which you may have seen with my Wilbert, and that's just painted a grey undercoat. And I was tossing up whether I wanted to paint this new one red and black, like in the TV series, but I decided to just have it match my other one, so it's also grey. I did, however, add some black detailing because these models are actually really well detailed, and I wanted to show that off a bit. And I also added the detailing to my other model as well, so they both match. Next up is the reason why I bought all of these in the first place, actually, which is this utility van. Ages ago, I saw GW Shunter make a video where he painted one of these to look like the van from the TV series, and I just thought that was a brilliant idea. So I've been waiting to get my hands on one of these myself so I could try and do the same thing. So thank you very much to GW Shunter for the idea. So I started off by painting this Mission Brown, but I decided that was a little bit too dark, so I went over it again in a lighter brown. And for reference, this shed is Mission Brown, and the Iron Duke is the red brown that I ended up using. So when I sprayed it over in this red brown, I did it somewhat lightly, so the Mission Brown could still come through in the nooks and crannies of the really well detailed model. So it's pretty subtle, but I was hoping this would make it look a little bit more worn out like it does in the TV series. And I also added some black and silver detailing to really make it pop. So for the silver I just used a Sharpie, but for a lot of my detailing like the black and a lot of lettering that I do, I use POSCA paint pens. These give you a lot of control because, as I said, they're just pens with paint-like ink in them. So you can use them with a ruler, and just in general they're a bit more steady than, say, just a paintbrush. Next up we have this, I guess you'd call it a refrigerated van, or something like that. Normally they're made as mail vans, but I already have two of those, and I thought of something else to do that I was really excited for. So something that I've always liked is the Works unit coach that comes with Harvey or Splatter and Dodge, so I decided to make my own version. Obviously it's not quite the same, but I really like how it turned out. Once again, I just used my trusty POSCA pens to get the lettering and detailing, and I also changed the back coupling to a second front coupling, like it is with Splatter and Dodge. This is actually really easy to do. All you need is an engine that's powered by its tender, like Murdoch or Hank or Emily. So you'll notice that their front coupling on their tender is slightly different to the normal one, and the way that it connects into the tender is actually the same as your everyday back coupling. So what you're able to do is you can swap out that tender front coupling for just your everyday back coupling, and then that means that you have two front couplings on one of your trucks or any sort of rolling stock. Now what this also means is that now your tender doesn't have a front coupling, but the beautiful thing about this is that back coupling that's now been taken out from that truck that you just changed, you can actually put that in as your new tender back coupling and connect it directly into the engine, as I've kind of tried to demonstrate. Hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer. So what that also means is that now the tender is closer to the engine. So those really big engines like Hank and Murdoch normally don't fit on turntables, but now they can because they're much closer together. So it's really something that I'd highly recommend, not just for variety of rolling stock, but also for your tender engines. Make them look a little bit nicer, in my opinion. Yeah, but it gives you a lot of variety for your rolling stock because it means that you can do stuff like engines being attached to the back of trains like Duck in A Close Shave. Next up is Clarabelle, who I decided to turn into a green passenger coach. Now, I already have an Emily's coach, so my choice was, do I want to try and copy Emily's coach and have two Emily's coaches, or do I want to paint over Emily's coach and then make them both old coaches from the TV series, which are simpler and easier to do than like Emily's coach, which is quite well detailed. But I decided to try and make Emily's coach because I didn't really feel comfortable painting over Emily's coach because that's just really well detailed. This is an example of sometimes things just don't work out. I tried many times to try and get the right green, and every single time it was a little bit off. The first time it was a little bit too dark, then it was too light. Yeah, had about 6 attempts of trying to get it right, and eventually I just kind of gave up and got something close enough. Because it really got quite frustrating in the end. You can see some photos where I'm holding the Emily's coach next to my mixed batch of green, and they look the same, but you know, whenever I put the paint on, it's slightly different, you know. But oh well, what can you do? But other issues arised as well. Because I was putting so many layers of paint on, the paint started to crack. So yeah, it just kind of felt like everything was going wrong with this one. But I still got it done, and I mean, it doesn't look terrible. Maybe after a little while, after I've left it for a bit, I'll come back to it and see if I can fix it, but for now I'm just going to leave it as it is. Once again, for the lining I used my trusty POSCA markers, just trying to get the pen really inside the windowsill to get the white, which was a little bit tedious and didn't work at times, but you know, what can you do? But the yellow was a little bit easier than that because I could just use a ruler. So next up are these trucks that I got. I decided to make them all the same, and I made them all Farquhar Quarry trucks. So they're the trucks from Thomas's branch line in the Railway series. In the books they're multiple different colours. They come in red and brown and grey, but because I was only making 4 of them, I decided to make them all brown. I figured, like many of us probably do, I have accumulated a lot of just plain grey trucks, and also in light of the fact that I've been making a lot of Railway series versions of the branch line characters like Thomas and Toby, and I want to try and do Percy. I figured I may as well do the trucks that coincide with them. So I figured it wouldn't hurt to just change 4 trucks and make them unique. Just to note, I actually kept the truck that had the water decal. I didn't bother painting that one because I thought that was a nice piece on its own. So I actually got 2 other trucks that I already had and painted those ones brown. So I had 4 trucks, one of them was already brown, and then the 3 of them I painted to make look like that other brown. And as you can tell, there's that one that's slightly not the same. That's the one that I was trying to copy. I didn't get the exact colour again, but that's alright because they're trucks and they can have a little bit of variation about them. And then, as you may be able to guess by now, I used my trusty POSCA markers to get the lettering, the FQC, on the side of the trucks, and that was a pretty sketchy process really because I didn't really know what size I wanted the letters to be. So the first one I just kind of did freehand, and then as I went on I got a bit better, got into a rhythm, and as you can see from that bottom truck, I actually dotted out each corner of the Q and the C so then I could get them a good shape, and that's what I would recommend if you were doing this instead of just doing them freehand. It's kind of an unlucky logo really because 2 of the letters are circles. Most of the time letters have a straight in them, so you can use a ruler, but for this one I had to go freehand for half of them. But it turned out alright. And then lastly, that ketchup coloured van, I just used the same colour as the trucks. I didn't really mind what colour this one would be, I just didn't really want it to be that ugly red. Anything would do. So I just had leftover of that brown, because I quite like that brown. So I sprayed it with that, and then I also used grey for the roof. For this one, like the utility van, I wanted to try and make it look a little bit rusted and worn. So for that I just got the same red-brown that I did for my utility van and sprayed that really lightly from far away. So it just kind of looked like a mist of darker colours, so it kind of looks, yeah, old and worn. It didn't really work out, but that's alright. That's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments and I'll try and get to you because I didn't want to make this video endlessly long. I wanted to keep it short and precise like most of my videos. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll try and get to you, and I'll see you soon.